Introduction. Frank Darabont's The Shawshank Redemption, 1994, is a cinematic masterpiece based on Stephen King's novella Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. Despite a modest box office performance upon release, the film has since gained widespread acclaim and is now considered one of the greatest movies of all time. The film tells the story of Andy Dufresne, a banker who is wrongfully convicted of murdering his wife and her lover. Sentenced to life in Shawshank State Penitentiary, he endures hardship, violence, and corruption. However, through intelligence, patience, and an unbreakable spirit, Andy finds a way to achieve justice and freedom. This summary explores every major plot point, delving into character arcs, themes, and the film's lasting impact. Plot summary: The conviction of Andy Dufresne, 1947. The film begins in 1947, introducing Andy Dufresne, Tim Robbins, a successful young banker in Portland, Maine. Andy is on trial for the double murder of his wife, Linda, and her lover, Glenn Quentin. Despite his calm and composed demeanor, the jury finds him guilty based on circumstantial evidence. During the trial, the prosecution presents damning evidence. Andy was seen arguing with his wife the day before her murder. He purchased a revolver and was witnessed near the crime scene. He had been drinking heavily on the night of the murder, leading to gaps in his memory. Though Andy maintains his innocence, the court convicts him, sentencing him to 2 consecutive life terms at Shawshank State Penitentiary. Arrival at Shawshank and meeting Red, 1947 to 1949. Andy arrives at Shawshank with a group of new inmates. They are processed under the watchful eye of Warden Samuel Norton, Bob Gunton, and Captain Byron Hadley, Clancy Brown, who rules the prison with brutal force. One of the inmates, Ellis Red Redding, Morgan Freeman, has been in Shawshank for decades. Red is known as the man who can smuggle contraband into the prison. Unlike Andy, Red is a seasoned prisoner who understands the system. On his first night, one of the newcomers breaks down crying. Captain Hadley beats him severely, and he dies by morning. This harsh introduction sets the tone for life in Shawshank. Andy, however, remains silent and composed. A month later, Andy approaches Red, requesting a rock hammer, supposedly for shaping stones as part of his hobby. Red is intrigued but warns him that hope is a dangerous thing in prison. Andy struggles in the threat of the sisters. Late 1940s, early 1950s. Andy's quiet nature and educated background make him an easy target for the sisters, a violent gang led by Boggs Diamond, Mark Rolston. The group repeatedly assaults Andy over the years, leaving him battered and scarred. Despite this, Andy refuses to break. His fortunes begin to change when he overhears Captain Hadley complaining about inheritance taxes. Andy, a banker, offers financial advice, explaining how Hadley can legally shelter his money from taxation. Hadley is skeptical but follows Andy's instructions. This marks a turning point. Andy is no longer just another inmate. He becomes useful to the prison staff. In gratitude, Hadley severely beats Boggs, leaving him permanently disabled. Without Boggs, the sisters disband, and Andy is no longer attacked. Andy's new role in Shawshank, 1950s to 1960s. Andy's expertise in finance earns him privileges. He begins assisting the guards with their taxes and later manages financial operations for the entire prison staff. Warden Norton notices Andy's value and assigns him to the prison library, run by an elderly inmate, Brooks Hatlin James Whitmore. Over time, Andy expands the library, lobbying the state for funds. After years of persistent letters, he finally receives a large donation of books and materials. Andy also starts helping prisoners obtain their high school diplomas, giving them a chance at a better future. However, Andy's relationship with the warden takes a darker turn. Norton uses him to launder money through fraudulent contracts, creating a false identity under the name Randall Stevens. Though Andy complies outwardly, he never loses sight of his desire for freedom. The tragic fate of Brooks Hatlin, 1954 to 1955. Brooks is granted parole after 50 years in Shawshank. However, life outside is overwhelming. Having spent most of his life in prison, he struggles with loneliness and irrelevance. Unable to adapt, Brooks writes a farewell letter to his friends in Shawshank and hangs himself in his boarding room. His death underscores the film's theme of institutionalization, how long-term imprisonment erodes a person's ability to function in the outside world. The arrival of Tommy Williams and the Hope for Freedom, 1965 to 1966. In the mid-1960s, a charismatic young prisoner named Tommy Williams, Gil Bellows, arrives at Shawshank. He quickly befriends Andy and Red, sharing stories about his criminal past. One day, Tommy reveals that he once shared a cell with Elmo Blatch, a man who boasted about killing a woman and her lover, details that match Andy's case. Andy is stunned. This could be the proof he needs to clear his name. He approaches Warden Norton with Tommy's story, hoping for a retrial. However, Norton has no intention of letting Andy leave. He orders Captain Hadley to kill Tommy, staging it as an escape attempt. Andy is devastated but not broken. Andy's escape plan and the tunnel revelation, 1966 to 1967. Following Tommy's murder, Andy appears more withdrawn. He tells Red about a hidden place in a field near Buxton, hinting at its importance. He also speaks of his dream of escaping to Zihuatanejo, Mexico. One stormy night, Andy disappears. The next morning, guards find his cell empty. A frantic search reveals the truth. Andy had spent 19 years tunneling through his cell wall using the rock hammer Red once smuggled for him. He concealed the hole behind posters of Rita Hayworth, Marilyn Monroe, and later Raquel Welch. Andy crawled through 500 yards of sewage pipes, emerging outside Shawshank as a free man. Before leaving, he executed one final act of justice. Using the fake identity Randall Stevens, Andy withdrew the warden's laundered money and mailed evidence of Norton's corruption to the authorities. As police arrive, Norton, realizing he is about to be arrested, takes his own life. Captain Hadley is also taken into custody. Red's redemption, late 1960s, early 1970s. After Andy's escape, Red feels lost. For the first time, he experiences true hopelessness. However, he remembers Andy's words about the hidden location in Buxton. Eventually, Red is granted parole after 40 years in Shawshank. Initially, he struggles with freedom, just as Brooks did. However, unlike Brooks, Red clings to hope. He finds the buried tin containing money and a letter from Andy, inviting him to join him in Mexico. In the film's final moments, Red breaks parole, traveling to Zihuatanejo. He reunites with Andy on a sunlit beach, symbolizing redemption, friendship, and the triumph of hope. Themes and symbolism. Hope versus despair. Andy embodies hope, showing that even in the darkest places, the human spirit can endure. Red, initially cynical, learns from Andy and ultimately embraces hope himself. Institutionalization. Brooks and Red's struggles highlight the psychological effects of long-term imprisonment. While Brooks succumbs to despair, Red chooses hope, inspired by Andy. Corruption and justice. Warden Norton and Captain Hadley represent the abuse of power within the prison system. Their downfall is a form of poetic justice, friendship, and redemption. Andy and Red's friendship is the heart of the film. Through this bond, Red learns to believe in something greater than Shawshank. Conclusion. The Shawshank Redemption is a profound story about hope, resilience, and justice. Andy's escape and Red's redemption reinforce the idea that no matter how dire circumstances may seem, perseverance and hope can lead to freedom. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Peace.